Good morning, I'm Nikki Stanzione.
And I'm the face of Fox, Elias Gallegos, in for Kristen Van Dyke.
And this is New Mexico Style. You were a little late there on the air band drum.
I've been late the past couple times, but I'm still trying.
I love playing the air band. It's really lame, actually.
Yeah, I'm actually pretty accomplished air guitarist.
Do you play any instruments?
I play the radio.
Me too. Me too. Hey, I have a question. Did you get along really well with your mom growing up when you were a kid?
I did. My mom was amazing.
Yeah, and she would be very proud of you. And, you know, apparently your relationship with your mother actually may affect the size of your brain. I never knew this, because I'm really close to my mom. We always have been. And this is interesting. A new study found that children who grow up with a sense of support from their moms are actually more likely to have what they call a bigger hippocampus. Yes, and a hippocampus, the definition is really basically the part of the brain that's responsible for emotions and regulating stress.
Wow.
Yeah, and researchers say basically this highlights how important nurturing is for mental development. You know, I mean, you have to be nurtured as a child. It really does affect you in the long run, right?
It does, you know, and, you know, you hear about children being, you know, that are adopted, and then you see some of the success stories, like John Lennon was adopted. I didn't know that.
I didn't know that either. Yeah, and you know, well, you know, as a child, whether you're adopted, whether you're whatever the case is, as a parent, you know, it doesn't matter blood or not blood. I mean, my dad that raised me, you know, like we get socialized, you know, and we get nurtured, and it really does make a difference on how we react as adults. So it's kind of an interesting thing.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to look a little more into that.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
It's interesting. I always like to know what people think about those kind of things.
Well, why don't we check in with our KRQE News 13 anchor, Elizabeth Alvarez, for this morning's headlines.
Hi, Elizabeth.
Good morning.
Hey, good morning. Yeah, I find that to be pretty interesting. We talked about that a little bit on KRQE this morning. So, you know.
And you have a 2-year-old son.
I do. Thank goodness.
Cute little boy.
A really close bond with him, so that's a good thing.
He likes basketballs too.
Yes, he does. Little NBA star in the making, I hope.
Aww.
Well, good morning to you at home as well. Topping your morning news headlines this morning. Some big controversy is brewing over the Albuquerque Downs at the Roundhouse. Democrats on the Senate Rules Committee blasted the contract approved last November. They're questioning whether the Downs at Albuquerque got preferential treatment. The attack was actually made during the confirmation hearing of 4 appointees to the State Fair Commission. Now, Governor Susana Martinez withdrew their nominations. She's basically telling lawmakers to figure out the deal before moving forward in selecting new members to the commission. While that was going on, the man Governor Susana Martinez nominated for her cabinet was also getting attacked yesterday. Greg Marcantel is up for corrections secretary, but he's accused of leaving some important information out of his background check. The Senate Rules chairwoman claims Marcantel did not disclose that he was suspended twice while working as a jail guard in Louisiana about 30 years ago. She also says he did not admit to being sued when a detective accused him of mishandling a case involving sex crimes against children. Now, Marcantel says he did answer all questions honestly and will testify before the Rules Committee tomorrow. Then came the budget, which failed, by the way, yesterday in the state legislature. State Republicans voted against the $5.6 billion budget yesterday. It now puts the governor's initiatives on the chopping block. The measure calls for a $216 million spending increase over last year. $14 million of that would get distributed if natural gas revenue projections remain on target. That's money allocated to cover the governor's call for increased spending on education and public safety. And we've been telling you how state lawmakers don't want to allow your child to move on from 3rd to 4th grade if they can't read at the right grade level. Remember that? We brought that to your attention a few weeks ago. Well, what can parents do to make sure your kids are reading well? Our Matt Morrow gets a teacher's perspective and has some tips for you to help you out at home.
Who lives in a hole in a tree?
Owl.
Who lives in a log?
A fox.
Who lives in his 1st grade classroom at Valle Vista Elementary School? It's the teacher, Elisa Mesta.
What if you forget where your animal lives? What are you going to do?
Look in the book.
Yeah, you're going to look back. You're going to reread it, right?
Teaching these kids to read is one of her main jobs, and it's not an easy one.
What's the biggest challenge of teaching kids to read?
I would say the levels, the discrepancy in levels. We have kids who need a lot of help versus kids who have a lot of help at home, and so they're more more prepared when they come into the classroom.
To help deal with the different reading levels and teach kids to read, Mrs. Mesta has the kids go through reading rotations.
So go ahead and start. Remember that you need your name on your paper first.
Here, they break up into groups based on how well they can already read. So just about every day, the kids get some one-on-one time with their teacher.
Okay, so sound it out. Eat, eat.
Plus, they get to read on their own, work on mastering new words, and listen to stories on the computer. But how well these kids do here in the classroom really depends on what they do somewhere else.
It starts early, way before the kids come to school. It starts in language and then exposing them to literature. Definitely reading with their children, listening to their children read, as well as exposing them early on to books in general.
About 60 to 70% of Mrs. Mesta's kids are exposed to books at home, and that makes all the difference in the world. So when they get to class, they're ready to read.
Oh, good job.
And that was our Matt Morrow reporting for us. Matt also tells us that the teachers say the best thing parents can do is to expose their kids to books as early as possible and also limit how much time they spend watching TV and playing video games. The Holloman Air Force community is coming together to try to save the life of a little boy, and you can help too. Noel Hawk, seen here, has leukemia and needs a bone marrow transplant. Hawk is the son of a captain with the German Air Force Base, which trains at Holloman down in Alamogordo. Now, community members have now organized a bone marrow drive to try and find a match for the boy. It will be this Saturday down in Alamogordo, February 4th, between 10 a.m. and 4 p.m. It's going to be by the German Church on Galloway Drive. Wish him the best. And that wraps it up for your morning headlines. Be sure to start your day every day with Matt Morrow, Kristen Van Dyke, and myself every weekday morning beginning at 4:30 a.m. on KRQE News 13. Elias, Nikki, sending it back to you.
Thanks, Elizabeth.
Thank you.
Now, this is interesting. Pepsi, in partnership with the Albuquerque Public School Education Foundation, recognizes an APS teacher each month for their outstanding contribution to the classroom, the school, and the community.
And January's Teacher of the Month is Aileen Hardin. She teaches second grade at Kirtland Elementary, and the winning teacher receives a $50 check from Pepsi and acknowledgement on the APS website and Facebook page. Congratulations, Aileen.
Yeah, I mean, $50 is great, but ultimately it's really that recognition. And I think that teachers, and Oprah Winfrey has always said that, you know, in addition to parents, the most important people to shape our lives are our teachers, and they really deserve that kind of recognition and acknowledgement for all that they do. And, you know, everybody remembers a favorite teacher. Do you have a favorite teacher you remember?
Yes, I most definitely do.
Who was your favorite?
Mr. Ortega. He was up there, yeah.
I liked Mr. Galanti and I liked Mr. Schneiderman. They were my favorites. Okay, now tonight we have to get back to this because we talked about this yesterday a little bit. Tonight is the much anticipated Michael Jackson tribute episode on Glee.
And here's a look at how the cast is honoring the beloved king of pop.
The King of Pop gets the Glee treatment as the cast sings some classic Michael Jackson songs, certain to thrill fans of the hit show.
Michael is, as people know, is my favorite ever, and I was very scared to see what would happen. You know, very sensitive about Michael.
A couple tribute episodes, but this is by far is the most special one to me because it's the one I enjoyed and I grew up with the most.
Michael Jackson is one of the, if not the most important pop artist of ever, the entire history of music. And to be, you know, to have the privilege to honor him like this.
He was so perfect in his timing in recording. He either sang right on the beat or a little bit ahead of it, which is a very hard thing to do.
Naya Rivera was excited to perform a unique version of Jackson's Smooth Criminal.
That was so cool. The cellists were amazing. They blew my mind.
Imitation, they say, is the best form of flattery, unless you're Chris Colfer.
I definitely tried to sing like Michael Jackson, and I think the first take, I ended up sounding more like Julia Child, which I'm not sure how I pulled that off.
And although everyone was longing to do some of MJ's signature moves, his music had to be enough.
We can't legally do any Michael Jackson moves, and if anything seems like a Michael Jackson move, it was not our intention.
In Hollywood, William LaJeunesse, Fox News.
Seriously, even if you're not a Glee fan, I said this yesterday, this would be the episode to watch to get you hooked. I mean, they've been talking about this and promoting this for months. When they've been asked what's their favorite episode they've ever done, they have all said the Michael Jackson episode.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be fantastic. So I'm excited. Are you going to watch it?
I am.
Watch it.
You should too.
Yeah, you should too. Now, another show on Fox that we love is X Factor, and it turns out that Nicole Scherzinger and Steve Jones don't have the X Factor. Yeah, Fox announced yesterday that host Jones and Judge Scherzinger will not be returning for season 2, and there was some speculation about that. Now it's official, but there is some speculation that Paula Abdul has been missing the spark that executive producer Simon Cowell is looking for. Interesting.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
And apparently, Simon's determined to make adjustments to the series after this first season fell short of his high expectations.
Yeah, I mean, he's a perfectionist. He wants the best, of course, and I thought it was a great show, but there were certain expectations it didn't live up to as far as ratings went, I think. So we know who's out, but who's in. Ready for this?
Mariah Carey?
Maybe. Yes, it's a possibility. They're talking. Possibly Mariah. Mariah, you're on fire. So we'll see. We'll keep you posted. You know, her husband, of course, Nick Cannon, was hosting America's Got Talent. So it'd be interesting to see them both in like that position on a talent show on TV.
Get well, Nick.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. We'll keep you posted, of course. And in the meantime,
let's
what's
find
it like
out
outside?
what's happening outside your window.
What's happening?